Let's speak about Israel, the Middle East. So Israel believes that there are 24 hostages, all men, who are alive in Gaza, along with 35 dead captives. Now, there are increasing fears for the remaining hostages, as Donald Trump's hostage envoy, Steve Witkoff, confirmed a date had been set for fighting to resume between Hamas and Israel's military, and warned of a joint US-Israeli operation if the hostages are not freed. Now, talks to prolong the ceasefire are expected to resume in Qatar. We know that Hamas wants to start negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, which would see the release of the remaining hostages from Gaza and the withdrawal of Israeli forces and a permanent end to the war. Obviously, we need all of those hostages back. I have so much fear knowing that there are 24 left to remain alive and we need to get them back. What's your reading of the situation at the moment? Will a ceasefire be extended?
Well, I think it will be, at least as deference to President Trump. President Trump has a lot to say what goes on in the pursuit of the war in Israel, though Netanyahu can probably do his own thing. If Joe Biden gave Netanyahu a blank check to do what he wanted, do you imagine what Donald Trump has given Netanyahu? He's already told Hamas that terrible things are going to happen to them if they don't release these hostages. But keep in mind, Gabriella, in parts of the world, other people, other nations are not as sentimental about hostages or prisoners. Americans are, Israelis are. I mean, Australia would be too, as a matter of fact. I know it was the end of Jimmy Carter's administration when he got very sentimental about the hostages in Tehran. And so the hostages is just the beginning of the deal. As far as I'm concerned, Israel is committed to eradicating Hamas. And when you see a hostage release, who's releasing them? Hamas is directing traffic, delivering the mail, and all the rest of it. There's nothing to replace them yet. So we don't even know what's going to happen the day after. I mean, I think Netanyahu is playing a very loose game in that part of the world, and even thinking more about the West Bank. But I think the hostage problem is just the tip of the iceberg of the problems that remain. Gaza is a mess. West Bank's a mess. Israel doesn't really know what to do going forward if it has to deal with Hamas in the future. And the Americans have made it very clear that they want Hamas gone. The only trouble is Hamas is not gone. The PLO, as Palestinians, have not taken their place. So, it's the old story I heard in the second Iraq War. I mean, we can't find anybody to deal with. So you tend to go down back alleys and on Arab Street looking for someone who will speak for somebody else. And it's very, very hard to conclude any kind of operation there.
Finally, I want to get your thoughts on Mark Carney, who's going to replace Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He did not hold back blasting Donald Trump over the trade war between the US and Canada. What's your reading on him?
Well, look, Gabriella, 90% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the American border. They are honorary American citizens. That is, they follow each other's sports and they drive across the line to go to work in each other's countries. This idea of these warlike cries coming out of Canada and America is just ridiculous. And Carney has taken the bait here. He's a technocrat. He's not a real politician. I mean, I think Canadians are sick of real politicians. And he looks like he can deal with with Trump. He's the governor of the former Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, too, as a matter of fact. And he looks like he can handle himself. And I listened to his speech, and the speech was, well, if it was not anti-American, it had an anti-American ring to it. He says, we're not going to be beaten up by Donald Trump. But you watch the real player, what happens. Canada's like Australia. The premiers there have a lot of clout. And Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, is raising the price of electricity to 3 American states by 25%. This is off the Canadian grid. And he said he's going to cut the electricity off altogether unless Trump backs down. So Carney not only has to deal with Donald Trump, he's got to deal with his own premiers who are on the warpath, too. So he's got a difficult job ahead. And I think he'll be fairly successful because, as you know today from the stock market, the American fundamentals do not like what's going on in Canada. The 3 car makers don't like what's going on. And sooner or later, Donald Trump is going to have to, let's say, have a reality check here, and he's going to have to back down.
Dean of Global Futures at Curtin University, Professor Joe Siracusa. Really appreciate your insight and analysis. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.